Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to talk about how to play Creature Caravan from Red Raven Games and Ryan Lockett. So this is his newest game in the kind of Arzium universe. It's not part of the Above and Below trilogy. It's a standalone, but a lot of the artwork is similar. Most of the artwork is going to appear on the cards that we're going to play. This is a Tableau builder. It's a dice placement Tableau builder. So the objective of the game is to simply score the most points. It is not, in fact, to get your caravan from one side to the other, but you do get bonus points for not only A, how far you've traveled, but B, if you make it to Easterly, this little town on the far edge of the board here. So that does not have to be your strategy, but it can be a strategy for scoring points. You could simply never move off of this hex here and still win the game. It'd be tough, but it is possible. So the rules for the game are very straightforward. There's very few things you can do on your turn, and all of the turns are done simultaneously. So if you're playing in a larger group, I believe this with the expansion, this game can play up to 6 now, at least 5. It's nice because basically everybody just rolls out their dice and everybody takes their turn. It doesn't matter if somebody's already on a spot or is already camped on a spot. You can share spots, you can place your camp on other spots. There's no blocking people or anything like that, other than the physical action of drawing a card, which they're all blind to you to begin with, before someone else, and you get lucky and get the perfect card you need. There's no player interaction. This is definitely a multiplayer solitaire game. So that means this is a perfect game to play solo. So at the end of the video, we're also going to cover how to play against the solo bot. 2 things. I am going to talk about how to play with the Wanderers expansion. And so that's going to be cards like this that have this blue banner on them. Also, this little map token right here represents the Wanderers expansion. Also, there's a second AI board that comes with the Wanderers expansion. So kind of different bot to play against. I prefer this one, actually. And so this is the one we're going to explain. But basically, if you can play as this one, you can play against the other one. They work the same. All right. So you're going to always start off every round by rolling out your dice. And that one took off on me. So here's an interesting roll here. We've got a couple 5s, a 6, 2, and a 1. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're only going to have your player board to place these dice on the actions. And once you place a die on action, that action cannot be taken for the rest of the round. Now, all of these pip symbols next to the action, and this is an action, we'll explain what that means, you have to either have to meet or exceed. So if I put this 5 here that exceeds the 3 that's printed on the board, I can take this action. This means that I can move my caravan forward or up or down, basically any orthogonal movement, not adjacent, but only if it's a grassland space. So if we look out here, this is grassland, this is grass, all this is grass. I could not, however, move into a mountain, a canyon, a lake, I think that's it. White clouds count as grass. But if I spend any 2 dice right here, they could, basically any 2 dice, because they just have to be 1 or higher. So I could place 2 dice like this. You'll notice that this terrain symbol has each type of symbol on it. So it has grass, it has lakes, it has mountains, it has canyons. So that enables me to travel onto any terrain square on the board here. Down here, we have things that are going to gain us resources. If I put any die here or here, I can basically draw the top card of the deck. If I put a 5 or 6 here, I get to draw 3 cards and keep 1. So anytime you have that dark hand symbol over the card draw symbol, that means that's the only amount you're taking, and you're going to have to discard the rest. So draw 3, keep 1. Here you get to pick up a satchel. Here you get 2 food. Very straightforward. This last side over here is a little more complicated, but again, still very easy. These first 2 symbols are free actions that you can take on your turn without spending dice. However, you have to turn in cards. So you have to discard a card, or if you choose to discard a card, you gain 1 food. You can do this as much as you want on your turn. Or if you discard 3 cards, you can gain 1 coin. Obviously, coins are harder to come by than food. The next 2 spots for placing dice down here are to take the attack action. The only thing you're going to attack in this game are the Ember Zombies. So these creatures here, which are represented on the map by these kind of enemy symbols, which if you are familiar with Red Raven games, you should be very familiar with. So anytime there's a space with that symbol on it, that means there's an Ember Zombie in that space. If you enter that space, an Ember Zombie starts following your caravan. That's bad. But if you're in that space, you can choose to fight a Ember Zombie. So what you would do is place preferably a high die in there. This means you are taking an attack action of 5. If I did this, I'd be taking an attack action of 6. Well, we have this board here, and we can see that there are zombies that need a strength of 5, zombies that need a strength of 6, but then they go all the way up to 22. Well, that's a problem. Well, there are cards that you're going to be able to add to your tableau. Here I've got a couple. So say these guys were also added to your tableau. You could play maybe this and this, so that's a total of 16. Now I could place and attack this zombie all the way down to this zombie. Now, when you attack a zombie, you're going to take one of your cubes and you're going to place it here on the very tippy top space. At the end of the round, that cube is going to move down 1, and at the end of the next round, it's going to move down 1, and that's essentially blocking off that space. So once someone has attacked the level 8 zombie 1 time, 2 rounds later, level 8 zombie cannot be attacked. So if the best you can do is come up with 8 swords, hopefully one of these 2 is open, or else you're toast. So as this board starts to fill up, you're forced to attack more difficult zombies. And then last but not least, on the bottom here, you place at least a 2 or better, so not very much. You can make a trade action. So the trade action, similar to the zombie board, but basically you come over here and you make a choice. Am I going to turn in coins, or am I going to turn in satchels? Both of which you're trading for food. That's the name of the game. It's Oregon Trail. In Arzium, you're just trying to get food to survive. If you trade in 1 coin, you're going to get 1 food plus 2. If you trade in 2 satchels, you're going to get 2 food plus 2 for 4. So the trade amount is equal to the amount that you're trading 1 for 1 plus 2. All right, you're always going to get a little bit more food for your trade. But similar to this, if you make a 5 money trade and put your cube there, after 2 rounds, that one is blocked off. Now there is another one here, similar with the satchels, but after these have been taken, they are blocked off. And you can have multiple people. So I could come in here and say make this 5 trade, and somebody else could come behind me the next round and put a cube there, and maybe other colors. They will all end up down here, and that's fine. At the end of the game, wherever your cube is points you're going to get. Remember, the name of the game to be victorious is score the most points. You cannot, however, have more than one of your cubes on a spot. So if I've already gone here to this 5 spot, I'm going to have to go somewhere else with my other cube. So that is the main actions that are on your player board. Same for everybody. Those can always be taken from the very beginning of the game. But as I said, this is a dice placement game and a tableau builder. So you start the game with 8 cards in hand. That's quite a lot, but remember, you can simply discard cards to gain basic resources. At any point in time, if you have the resources required to pay for the card, and that's going to be what's up here in the upper left, you can simply trade in those resources as a free action and lay the card down into your tableau. As soon as you have done this, that spot that is on the card, if there is one, is available. So if I have rolled out my dice and say I've You know, say I spent this one to fight, and I spent this one to get some cards. I had the resources I need. I spent my 5 food, my 1 satchel. I play out my machine giant, my canyon wagon. So my canyon wagon, it has keywords of machine and giant. Those are important. I now have a spot to place a 4. So if I place this here, I can travel either on canyons or water. So instead of placing 2, losing 2 dice here, because your dice are your actions, here, if it's just canyons or water, I can now place a 4 or better. I also get to draw a card when I take this action. And there are people, let me see if I can find somebody. Here, for example, is the Hungry Cyclops. So the Hungry Cyclops, you put a 6 down, he's a giant. He's a giant Cyclops. He's giant, he's shy, and he's nocturnal. You put a 6 down, you can move 2 spaces, and it can be anything. Essentially, it's a wild move. Move anywhere you want. 2 spots, but this guy is very expensive. He costs 11 food, he costs 1 coin, and if you want all of his 11 victory points, you're gonna not have to be able to have any folk keywords in your tableau at all. 11 points if no folk. That's basically saying no folk keywords. So you couldn't have, like this fella, for instance, because he's got the folk keyword. So let's take a moment to look through some of the cards that I've set aside here. So we've already seen like the Canyon Wagon allows you to move over certain terrain. Hungry Cyclops allows you to move over twice over any terrain. The Noble Commander here, he not only each turn add 2 to 1 die, he also gives you a spot to place an attack die, and you'll add 1 to that attack die. So like a 6 would become a 7 as far as defeating the Ember Zombie. Here we have an Ancient Climber bot that gives you +1 per deadly. So if we come back here, if we had this Noble Commander and the Ancient Climber bot, both of them have the keyword deadly, so this guy would become a +2. Here we have somebody that gives you food and a satchel. Also, all cards cost 1 fewer food. So this is an ongoing effect that is, you know, super helpful. Here, this one says when you play this card, gain a coin. It's going to give you +1 to your attack die and let you draw a card. Here, you don't have to place a die. You may discard this card from your tableau at any time to move twice over any terrain. Or you can hold on to him and simply put any die there to gain a satchel. But I will point out that this card is a -2 victory points unless you have 3+ magic keywords in your tableau. Now that you've already got 1 here, but you could simply play this one and at the end of the game get rid of it to move twice, you know, strategy. Last but not least, this one here has a lot of stuff going on. First of all, it normally costs 4 food and 2 satchels to play the Cloud Dragon, but if you have 3+ magic already out, so if you had the Plagued Mystic and 2 other magic cards already out, then this would be 0, and it would only cost 2 satchels to play this card because you're already very magical. The Cloud Dragon is drawn to you. Once the Cloud Dragon is out, then it says when you camp on a cloud space, you get to draw 3 cards. That's a passive. You don't have to place a die. If you place a 4 or better, you gain a coin. But mainly this one's camping on clouds to draw 3 cards. So if we look back here at the board, we remember the cloud spaces counted as green pasture spaces because the clouds are up above. But if you end your movement and place your camp there, then cards like this that say on a cloud space are triggered. All right. Last thing I want to talk about here are the victory points. You probably already noticed this. Some of them are very straightforward. This is 2 victory points. But others are just straight negative points. Just to have this guy in your tableau, it's -4. Now, maybe it's worth it for you to have his great attack power plus card draw, you know, get a free coin out of it. Maybe that's worth it for you. Here, for example, though, you have 8 points if you have 3+ magic. So this Lizard Folk Herbalist is already giving you 1. Say you keep the Cloud Dragon and the Plagued Mystic in your hand, then you've got it. If you don't have 3 magic keywords in your tableau, then this guy's worth nothing. This guy's worth 1 per camp on the mountains. So then you would go back and look, how many times did I put a camp on the purple mountains space? Here is 1 per defeated zombie. Here we already talked about this guy. He's 11 if no folk keywords are in your tableau, which is very hard to do. He's very expensive and very hard to get his full amount of VP. So that's just an overview of the cards. There are so many cards in this game, it's ridiculous. And 75% of them at least are unique. I have seen a couple doubles of a card, but that's it. And not every card has a double. So tons of cards. They all have different artwork. They all say something different. Something is different about them. So all super unique. So everybody's tableau is going to be very different than the person sitting next to them, which is very good for a game like this. The last thing I want to talk about, since we're on the subject of cards, are the Wanderer's expansion cards. So you can see actually in the 8 cards I drew to start my hand, I have a lot of them, which is not great because these are actually attachments. They have to be attached to a creature, somebody already in your tableau. So first of all, they're pretty cheap. You can see mostly satchels. This one's expensive, but they also have a requirement. So this is a keyword. Not only do you have to have this in your tableau, but you have to be able to attach the spicy deep roots to a card with shy. So if I have a card that does not already have an item attached to it and it has the keyword shy, I can pay 1 satchel and attach spicy deep roots to that card, essentially. Then this gives me an ongoing ability. They don't ever give you place, at least not that I've seen, a place to put a die. It gives you a passive ability. So this says when you attack, you may discard food for +1 attack power each. So this would be boosting your attack, but this is passive. Here, some of the other ones here. Here we go. This is what a lot of them say. When a die is placed on this creature, gain, in this case, bread. So you would obviously want to put it on one that has a die spot, not one that just has a passive ability, which there are some out there. I don't think I pulled any out, but here, when a die is placed on this creature, perform the same action again. So that's why this one is so expensive. It's not getting you any points. They do give you a little bit of points there, but otherwise, that's it. That's how the Wanderer's expansion goes. They recommend you not play with the Wanderer's expansion your first couple games. That's probably better. It's probably best to start that way just because it's another rule you have to remember. And you could get screwed with your opening hand like me and have a lot of them in your hand, and there's no mulligan rule. But it's not a hard expansion to pick up on. Essentially, there are 12 camps in your possession. You place a camp down at the end of every round, whether you've moved or not. So each space can have multiple camps of your color and other colors. Once all 12 camps have been placed out, the game is over and you count up the score. Scoring is mainly just looking through all the cards and counting up points, looking on the zombie and market boards and counting up the points. How far did you make it along? How many unique places did you place a camp? And did you make it to the end? There's a score sheet that's included in the box. You just go through it from top to bottom. It's pretty easy to score. All right. Finally, let's move on to the AI. So the AI is, for the most part, going to play the same. They are controlled. Their actions are controlled by this board. You're still going to roll out their dice. Now you can simply take your turn. You could even add the bot, first of all, into any game. So if you were playing 2 players and wanted just a 3rd caravan on the board just to mix things up, you could throw the bot in. Or you can play against him solo. But after all humans have taken their turn, the bot is going to roll out their dice. All right. Oh my God, I don't think I could do that again. Well, we're going to re-roll because a whole bunch of 3s is not helpful to this. I almost did it again. Not helpful to this example. So you roll out the dice for the bots, and the first thing you're going to do is, does the bot have any double 4s, 5s, or 6s? If it does, you're going to place a pair of those here. So if I had 3 4s, I would only place 2 of them right here in this upper spot. If you have 6s and 5s, you would place 6s. 5s and 4s, you would place 5s. So the highest pair, 4, 5s, or 6s, are placed here. Then, working from top to bottom, you can see that there are, in this case, sometimes a single spot, sometimes multiple spots. So here, if I had a 6, which I don't, but if I placed one here, it would just be a single 6. Here, I place as many 5s as I have. Here, I just place a single 4. Here, I place as many 3s as I have, and here I place as many 1s and 2s as I have. Now, once you've placed the dice, you're going to go from top to bottom, and you're going to action those dice. So the pair of 4s, 5s, or 6s is going to have you complete the lowest available trade. If tied, choose coins. So then the bot would simply come over here and say, all right, nobody has taken this single coin action yet. It's just going to place a cube here. It does not collect coins. It doesn't work with coins. It's not going to trade in any coins. It doesn't have to have those coins. It simply puts a cube here, and 2 rounds later, that's going to be blocked off. If after this one is blocked off, the cheapest one would then be this. So if you're closing them off, it's going to look for the cheapest. And if the cheapest is, say, both in this column, it's going to go up here to the coins. All right, so coming back to the board here, if at least 1 6 has been placed, you're going to draw cards until you find a card that gives the bot at least 1 VP as of this turn. So essentially draw until it's a first positive one. For 5s, you're going to move 2 spaces forward per 5. So if you place 2 5s here, that's actually 4 spaces. They're going to basically always have the wild movement capability. So they're just going to move in a straight line. Here, you can see that it says for a 4, draw 1 treasure. Once this bot has 5 treasure, it gains 1 extra die to roll. So it would start rolling 6 dice. Roll this die on each subsequent turn. If it ends up with 10 treasure tiles, it doesn't get a 7th die. It only ever rolls 6. Here, if you have multiple 3s, it's going to move forward 1 per the amount of 3s that you've placed here. And then last but not least, any 1s and 2s here are going to be re-rolled. So you're going to take them all, re-roll them, and add 1 per any attack action in the bot's tableau. So right now it starts with the Hogfolk Jeweler. There's no attack action there. But if it's for some reason had the Ancient Climber bot, it would add 1 to that. It's going to re-roll all the dice here. It's going to add that up, add 1 for each action, and then as long as, if it's an 8+, it's going to defeat the lowest available enemy. If it's less than 8, it's going to gain 1 zombie. So if it rolls a 10 and you have come in, or it has come in and defeated everything below 10, nothing happens. But if it rolls like a 6, if it rolls real crappy, it's going to gain a zombie. That zombie is going to be a negative point at the end of the game. As the bot is traveling along, if it camps, aka it ends its turn on a spot with a fruit or a treasure tile, it's going to add a fruit to its collection or draw a random treasure tile. If the treasure tile gives it fruit, it'll gain that fruit. Otherwise, it ignores everything else except victory points, which it'll count up at the end. The other bot is very similar, but it has 2 major differences. One is that it only allows a single die to be placed as it works its way down after you place the double 4s, 5s, or 6s. And then anything left over is placed in the combat die section, and those are rolled. But it's only if you roll, I think, a 1 or a 2. They don't fight zombies often. Also, it has a spot, which I do think is interesting, but can be tricky, where it says you're going to draw cards up to 6 total, until you come up with a card that essentially allows the bots to gain more VP from the cards in its tableau. It's not worded that way. I don't remember the exact wording, but essentially, if this was their only card, you would draw up to 6. You would just draw 1 at a time until you, well, this is a bad example because that says +4 for defeated zombies, but let's just say this was in their tableau. So now it randomly, it drew this one. It was obviously 1 or higher, so it's going to keep the 8. Well, it wouldn't. It technically wouldn't, because it wouldn't have 8 unless it already had 3 magic. So I apologize. But let's just say that this card is here. You would, on the other bot, you would draw cards until up to 6. And if a magic card popped up, you would add that one to the tableau. I apologize. I really talked around that one in circles. It took me a little while to figure that one out. Not a little while, but it's probably the more confusing rule on that bot card. So I wanted to get that out there. But anyways, the bot simply takes its turn. It goes through. It does not have a limit. By the way, you have a limit of 12 cards over here, but these attachment cards don't count against you. So 12 creature cards, and each creature can have only 1 attachment. So you have a limit to the size of your tableau. The bot does not. And that's pretty much it. Again, this is multiplayer solitaire, so you're not going to interact with the bot ever. It's going to move along the map. You may feel like you're racing it, but again, it doesn't matter who gets to Easterly first or how far they get at the end of the day. So, but that's it. Pretty simple, straightforward, especially once you learn how to run this board, which again, I feel like is very easy. You're good to go. And that's it. That is truly all there is to it. Again, the strategy comes from your card combos in your tableau, and there is a lot of luck involved with the rolling of the dice, obviously, but there are ways to mitigate those dice rolls. I failed to mention, so we'll cover it now. If you camp on a spot with one of these fruit, you gain a fruit token. You can then hold on to this fruit token till you choose to add it to a creature card. That creature card, effectively, the pip number here becomes a 1. So you make it so that you, no matter what, can claim that action on any turn, no matter how poorly you roll. Also, the treasure tokens here, if you end on a treasure token, you draw a random treasure token. They've got random stuff on them. They may give you a fruit, may give you some coins, may just give you victory points. Last thing is the white kind of castles here. If you end your turn on them, you get to draw 3 cards at the end of your turn. Sorry, I skipped over that. That's it. Other than that, it's just the terrain type. And you move across the board. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. We'll be doing a solo playthrough next on the channel, so you can see how all this goes in action. And you can ask me questions after that one too. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.